All right, a very big thank you to you one more time. The program is still here this morning on ITV on independent television. Just to save your time, already we have Mr. Crusoe Saige, Special Advisor on Media Project to the Edo State Government. You're welcome to the program this morning on ITV.
Thank you very much, Evans, for having me here.
I have to most sincerely thank you because of your very busy schedule. You found time to come.
Yeah, I should thank you because Edo people need to be briefed. We work for them. We are their servants. We should find time to keep them updated, tell them what's going on in government.
Okay. All right. So the issue of emergency response has continuously been a problem in the country. Most times we hear of natural disasters. We hear of issues emanating from security issues and all that. Like the most recent of it all, the one that happened recently in Igwebe, whereby the state government had to rise to the occasion. So many people praising the state government, the way the state government came on that. But let's get your insights in the first place. Whose responsibility is it when we talk about emergency situation in the country? Because Nigeria is a country. We have the federal government, the state governments, and local government. So whose responsibility is it?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. Number two, I want to express my gratitude to the families of the victims of the kidnap and then the victims themselves. We apologize for the ordeal that they had to go through, but we thank God that at least we'll be able to get almost all of them out. Last time I checked, there's only one person that is still being held, and we're very confident that before the end of the week, by God's grace, we'll get him out. We've smoked them out. We've arrested most of the assailants, and we are on their tracks and trail. So speaking about whose responsibility, if you remember the first time I was on set to talk about this issue, I bluntly refused to cast aspersions or lay blame on anybody, because at that time, people's lives were in danger. People were arrested. So what was important to us at that time was get these people out of danger. But today, like I said earlier, we've successfully rescued almost all of them, remaining only one. So we can now say, okay, what were the things that went wrong? First and foremost, the Railway Corporation is a federal government agency, and the infrastructure in Igwebe, where they carry out that service, belongs to the federal government. Yeah. And so your house, your own property, like your house, for example, where you live, the first responsibility for safety within your compound is your responsibility as the owner of that house. Not to talk about the federal government that owns all the paraphernalia and infrastructure for security across the country. So the police, the DSS, the army, the Air Force, the civil defense, they are all directly controlled by the federal government. And don't forget that there was an incident of this nature that happened in Kaduna a few months back. Ago. So one would have expected that they would have taken a systemic approach to dealing with security around their train tracks and around the train stations across the country to prevent such an incident from happening again. But I don't think they did that. And to that extent, I believe that they need to go and look at their books again and secure their facilities. But this happened within the shores of Edo State, and so it fell squarely within the purview of His Excellency Governor Godwin Obaseki, and we thank God for his help. I want to let you know that I've come to this program a couple of times and to ITV many times to assure Edo people that we have a formidable security system in place in Edo State. People challenge me, they jab at me and say, oh, they are not sure. The reason why we are not able to debate as furiously as we should with these people is because when it comes to security, we cannot afford to expose the details of what we have. We have a lot in terms of technology, we have a lot in terms of strategy to ensure that this state is safe. And that is what you saw come into play when that incident happened. So the emergency response you saw, the quick intervention you saw, the quick recovery of the victims that you saw, the quick roundup of the criminals that you saw to prevent them, because what they normally do, once they capture these people, they start to take them far away from the location where they captured them to deep into Nigeria, northern Nigeria, other states of the country, but our security system did not allow them to move as fast as they wanted to move because we quickly formed the perimeter around them and they couldn't go through. And that security system is what played out in the kind of response we saw with this incident, and it is still very much alive, in the Edo State. We call it the Edo State Security Network. It employs collaboration between the federal security agencies, speaking of the police, the army, the DSS, the civil defense, and all the paraphernalia of federal security, then layered upon security within communities, up until neighborhoods, from local government straight towards. And there is interplay between all of these agencies. The agencies, first and foremost, the federal agencies, first and foremost, provide skills training for all the other operatives within the structure. Speaking about the vigilantes, the farmers, the hunters, and all of them. And then there's communication between them. And there's a lot more that is in there.
All right. The railway line is not the only facility we've got in Edo State. We also have other federal facilities in Edo State, just as it cuts across other states in the country. But I want to ask here, what is the kind of understanding, the arrangement that is on, maybe between the Edo State government and the federal government now, as it relates to federal facilities in Edo State? Because if you look at what happened, some persons look at the way the Edo State government came into the issue as a preventive way, instead of being proactive,
reactive,
kind of trying to react to what has happened. In other words, some persons see that the government would have been proactive so that such a situation would not have occurred. So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I see your point.
What is the arrangement?
I see your point. The arrangement is very straightforward. I'll bring it back to the analogy of your own house and your neighbor's house, for example. Your neighbor cannot come to your house or let's say the Odion of your neighborhood, the head of your community, cannot come to your house to ensure that you put off your gas and put off your stove and ensure that fire does not come into your house. But if peradventure you have not managed the fire system well in your house and there's fire, don't worry, we have to step up and call the community members and say, please, let's go to Mr. Evans's house. There seems to be fire there, let's go and put it out. But he cannot come and legislate, how you will organize the safety and security within your compound. So it's the same thing with the federal government. The Edo State government cannot go into federal government infrastructure and federal government facilities and begin to tell them how they are going to do.
Was there no form of agreement in terms of keeping those facilities secure?
There's no agreement. The federal government is the federal government.
You mean the state government did not have any agreement with the federal government on how to keep those facilities secure?
How do you? The police belongs to the federal government. They don't have to take excuse from.
Yeah, but the state government is the chief security officer of the state.
That's the irony of Nigeria. The chief security officer of each state, which is the governor, does not actually have direct control over the security agencies in the country. All the security agencies still report to Abuja. And so Abuja is where the police is. Abuja is where the NRC, Nigeria Railway Corporation, or Central Bank, or any of the federal government institutions you want to talk about, they're all in Abuja. It's just a phone call to the Inspector General of Police and say, please, we need police deployed across, very powerful force of policemen and DSS deployed across all the railway stations across Nigeria. Direct, also the IG and the Railway Corporation Managing Director can therefore say, let us have a meeting and plan. It doesn't have anything to do with the governor. The governor does not come in at all. These are two federal government agencies and then you can also reach out to the military, to the chief of army staff or something and say, please, we need your support. So the government of Edo State, the governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki, only had to step in because the crisis had already happened. And he cannot fold his arms and say, it's not my business, it's federal government. It is his people that are involved. So he had to step in form of a response to deal with the challenge.
All right, now, the stepping in of the governor now, to some people, is suspicious because this is election period, and politicians ordinarily will look for ways to make some gains as it relates to elections and all that. Now, this is not the first time that we're having kidnapping happening in Edo State. The question that people ask, why is it that it is now that the governor suddenly woke up and responded? It's the election period. You know, how come the governor has not responded to former kidnap situations that we've had in the state?
We have had several kidnapping situations in the state,
Yeah.
but no one quite as iconic as this one that just happened, because this is a spectacular kidnap case where they attacked the federal government institution.
Do you remember the incident of the man that came from the U.S.? An Edo man that has naturalized in the U.S.
You're right.
And he was killed in the States. You say that was not iconic?
No, that's not, you know, when an institution of government is attacked and people are taken, that's what gives it their iconic.
Yeah, I'm talking about the
kidnapping.
when
An individual vehicle is taken, is important because lives of people are involved. But it's not quite as iconic as when a government agency is struck. You understand? It sends a wrong message to both the public and to the international community that a train station, just like an airport, you know, bus terminal, all those kinds of important institutions are attacked. That's what makes it a little bit different from. And that's why the whole country was agog. The one you just mentioned, I'm aware of the incident, the man is from Edo North.
Yeah, from Edo North.
It was a very painful, unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
And the government did step up, you know, to try to quell that kidnap. And I think the suspects were eventually arrested. It's just that, unfortunately, the man was a bit elderly and he was not able to cope with the conditions of the kidnap situation. So he was killed even before the suspects were arrested. So just to let you know that every security incident that happens in Edo State is very important to us. We respond to all of them. But you see, that happened at least 2 years ago. We have been tweaking and retweaking and improving our security system between then and now. So our security system is actually a lot better now than it was at the time when that one happened. We take into learning any incident that we deal with, and we adjust our system to ensure that we can respond better and faster if it happens the next time.
Okay.
I was speaking with His Excellency the Governor yesterday. I was briefing him with respect to how we've been engaging the public with respect to this incident that recently happened. And he said something profound to me. He said, so life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. So that's why we had to respond the way we responded, and to ensure that we give confidence to Edo people, to let them know that they are free to go about their businesses. Anybody that engages in criminality is destined to be captured and arrested.
Okay, now I want you to debunk some of the insinuations making the round that when you have federal government facilities in states, that federal government pays some form of royalty to state government. I want you to debunk that now.
No, there's no such thing.
In the other way around, that the state government owes the federal government some level of securing those facilities.
You know, so first and foremost, there's no such royalty paid to state government because you have a federal government facility there. However, there are benefits that the state gets in the sense that when a federal government institution is in your place, it leads to the development of that place. For example, that railway line now will mean that Nigerians will commute from across the country through Igweben, and then there will be some economic activities. The reason why I'm
bringing up this question,
but there's no royalty or any...
The state government is making money from the railway line?
No, not so at all. Not so at all. Not so, but of course, Edo State is a part of Nigeria. So if a railway station is there, it means that it facilitates the ease of movement of our people in Edo State. They want to go to Warri, they want to go to Kogi, that train line takes them there. But there is no direct benefit that the state government gets because the federal government institution is there. The benefits are only indirect. For example, when the federal government is making its budget for the year 2023, it is going to budget for all its facilities. The CBN building in Edo, the railway corporation you have talked about, the federal secretariat, they will get some budget. The budget will flow into these institutions within the state. The people who work there, they can't be living in Abuja and working there. They live here. They go to our markets here and they spend the monies here. So to that extent, there's indirect benefit. Okay. But there's one. So therefore, there's also no arrangement that the state government is the one to provide security for these federal government institutions. The federal government owns security totally, owns total. The state government
Even
only borrows security from federal government from
I
time
think
to time.
we have to be mindful with the way we say that now. Even with the arrangement of some form of quasi security arrangements in the state, like the Edo Vigilante,
Yes.
network, which we know that really tried in this, kidnap case.
Yeah, they worked hard. So the Edo Vigilante Network, or we call them Edo Security Network operatives, they derive their authenticity from the police. Without the police, they're nowhere. So we still have to rely on the police. For example, a vigilante man cannot arrest you. He can't. If he sees you doing a crime, what he can only carry out is what we call a citizen's arrest. They can stop you from leaving, and then they will call the police and say, please, so we caught somebody here cutting a street light cable. We have restrained the person from leaving. Police is not the one that is now lawfully empowered to come and implement just law and order. And suffice to say that these vigilantes are they are only vigilantes subject to their trainings that they receive from the police.
All right, now let's talk about the victims now. Now, there is one particular victim that seems to have gotten all the attention now, so to say. It stands to be corrected here. The wife of the police officer that died. Now, many say, many ask the question, what about the other victims that were released? What is the state government doing in order to ameliorate, their case?
I don't know of one single victim that is having more attention than any other victim in this case.
I mean, people say that the wife of the police officer,
Honestly, I don't even have any information about police officer that died. I don't think that is the correct...
it's not related to the Gwebe issue?
I doubt it completely.
Or it was the magistrate person that was killed?
I doubt it. So just to say that, the governor visited the 12 that were released at the same time when they were still in Police Cottage Hospital. He didn't single anybody out. He went to every bed, every individual that was affected by this unfortunate incident, commiserated with them, provided emotional and psychosocial support to those who needed it. And no one is singled out. No one is more important than the other.
Okay.
They are all Nigerians. And suffice to say that most times the high and the mighty, they don't use train stations. It is usually the ordinary people that use train stations, which is what makes it particularly more important to us, because the ordinary Nigerians constitute about 90% of the population. So if we are government, then we must be directly responsible to them.
Okay. Now that we have you, about last week or 2 weeks ago, we had some retirees or some pensioners here. They came. As a matter of fact, I walked into them some few days ago, just before, a few weeks ago now, before the Christmas period, where they had to stage a protest at the King Square. So I invited them and they came. Now, what you're saying is that the government has not lived up to expectation as it relates to payments of gratuity, payments of pension, allowance and all that. Now, but we hear a different thing, that out of the 3 issues that the pensioners have called for, that government has been able to attend to 2 out of them. What is the truth?
Yeah, so let me just say that I know that these are senior citizens and we should not cast aspersions on them, and I don't intend to. But when things are said that are not correct, doesn't matter who says it, whether they are elders or not, we have to put the right information out there. I personally believe that the pensioners are going through a lot. They need more support from the society and from government. That is not in question. But I also believe that they have been particularly unfair to His Excellency Governor Godwin Obaseki, because Governor Obaseki has been their campaigner, their major campaigner from day one since he took office. Like you rightly said, when the governor took office, there were 3 major challenges left by previous governments, that these pensioners were facing. The number 1 problem was the problem of backlog of pension arrears that were owed the state pensioners. And I dare say also local government pensioners. But suffice to say that the state government is directly responsible for the state pensioners, and only relatively or indirectly.
Are you saying that backlog has been cleared now?
Totally, 100%.
Then how come the pensioners, they still protest?
Let me finish.
Yeah.
They are finished that the government has cleared every penny of the backlog of pensions. Then there's what we call the harmonization of pension. I'll quickly explain it. People like my father, 78 years old man, who retired in the year 2000. The minimum wage at that time was I think 6,000 naira. But since then, when he retired up until now, there has been improvement in minimum wage. So because he has left the system already and his pension seems to be cast in stone, those increments in minimum wage is not reflected in his take-home as a pensioner who retired long ago when minimum wage was 6,000. Yeah. So that's what necessitates what they call harmonization, which means elevate the pension being taken by these people who retired long ago to make it
ought to be
to
now.
be at par with the current minimum wage.
Yeah.
For over 20-something years, pensioners have been crying that you can't be paying us 1,500, 3,000, 6,000 pension when minimum wage has since increased and our contemporaries who are retiring now are earning far more, money due to the increment in the minimum wage. And no government listened to them since then till now.
Anyway,
the governor attended to that and harmonized the pension. My father benefited from that. So it's not a question of tell me, I tell you. Then the third challenge now was for people who retired, from between 2012 and now, who have not been paid their gratuity. Are you following me now? Remember this government came into power effectively 2020 to 2017 because it's November 2016.
2016,
November. It's just 1 month. It's less than a month and a half. So it's almost like 20. So imagine 2020, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016 gratuities were owed by previous governments. Yeah, but and now, let me just round that up. Yeah. And not to say that. So when you said just now that government has done 2 out of 3, it's correct, but it's not exactly correct. Even with the gratuities, government has begun to pay. I've done a list of at least 150 retirees who were paid their gratuities between that 2011.
50 out of how many?
150. I said I have compiled. And that's why I didn't bring the list today. And I want to warn the pensioners, not to warn them in form of threat, just to let them know that I'm going to be releasing the list. I know they won't like it, but we have no choice at this time.
But let me quickly react.
No, let me say that again. If they are listening now, let them hear. Yeah, we are going to be releasing the list of all the pensioners so far that have been paid their gratuity, because the claim they are making is that government has not done anything concerning gratuity, but we have paid not less over 1.something billion, and we have paid over at least about 200 pensioners have received their gratuity.
Anyway,
and there's a way we are classifying these payments. Yeah. By the time I bring the list, I'm going to explain the criteria with which government is
whatever you say here, Crusoe, is on record. So,
yes.
Even the pensioners this morning, they are watching. And
yes.
Of course, they are either saying
I have the list.
Telling the truth,
I have the list.
Or it's not the truth. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to subsequently invite them on this show so that they can either concur on some of the things you are saying here or debunk them.
It's not a question of them concurring. This is a television house for the public. I say I'm going to bring the list. I will put the name of the pensioner, the ministry where he worked, and that he has been paid the pension. You can go and trace the person and the local government of origin of that pensioner. Yeah. So you can't say that.
Yeah, Crusoe, some people say that your principal, the governor, is perhaps playing politics with the issue of pensioners. Because I remember when he took the oath of office, that oath was taken with the understanding that it's all about liabilities. It's all about assets. Assets and all that. So a governor that took oath of an office that I am now the governor of the state, anything that has to do with the state, I am responsible. And right now, even as you're saying it now, that we're talking about gratuity that spans into 12, 15 years, or even 25, 30 years ago. So don't you think, do we have to be playing politics with all this?
Well, I don't want to agree with you that we're playing politics with it. If these debts took 5, 10, 15 years to be owed, and you expect us to pay it now within only 7 years or 6 years that we have done, that is not being fair. If it took 15 years to owe, and we have even cleared it to this extent within 6 years, you should give us some kudos, and you should trust us when we tell you that don't worry, we are working on it. We have not forgotten about it.
Are you
know
guaranteeing the pensioners that before the election that they will be paid?
But you said to me just now that this governor took the oath of office and accepted both assets and liabilities.
Yeah.
So if it so happens that we are not able to clear all the liabilities,
so
which are very, of course, the next government will take over from there. But I can assure you that this government is very sincere, is very, very purposeful, and is pursuing clearing this debt. And I dare say that this is the reason why these pensioners are even agitating, because they trust this government so well that they don't want this government to go before their own is paid, because they fear whether a government as sincere as this will ever come again. So that's why they are holding His Excellency. Say, oh, you must pay me my money, oh, because now only you I trust. If you come out now, we don't know who they come tomorrow. That is what is happening. But we want to appeal to them that, look, this man is a human being. This government is made of human beings. We are committed to your well-being and welfare. We are going to continue to pay these liabilities as much as possible. But we cannot guarantee that we'll solve all the problems in Edo State before November 11, 2024, when we are leaving. But we'll solve as many as possible.
Anyway, we want to say a very big thank you to Kuso Saige, the special advisor to the Edo State government on media projects, debunking some of the issues we have in our national space, most especially the issue of emergency response as it relates to the question, who is to respond to emergency situation? Is it the state governments, the federal governments, or even the local governments, you know? And we also use the case in Edo State that the Edo State government responded, and many kudos is what people are giving to the state governments in that direction. So we pray that it doesn't happen again, even as we prepare for the election. Then as for the pension issue, the raging crisis between the state government and the pensioners, Crusoe has given us his words that since government is all about assets and liabilities, that the Edo State government will try as much as possible to offset some of the gratuities. That's what you said before the election. And just like what I said also too, that the pensioners are watching, so if there's anything that you said here which they don't agree with, be rest assured that we will also give them the opportunity, just as we are giving the opportunity now to speak on the part of government. So they will also come here, we'll give them the opportunity to either concur or say no to what Mr. Crusoe Saige has said here this morning. I want to say very big thank you.
Thank you
for the time to come on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Right,
thank you, Nigerians, for your attention.
Okay. So the program is still this morning on ITV on independent television. We'll take a short pause now for other segments. Please stay tuned.